Welcome to Progress in San Diego. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things. This show is manned by everyday people standing behind the cameras and also the people that we're going to be interviewing. Our focus is on human rights, is on peace and the environment generally. And I'm just very lucky right now to have Elise Smith Cooper, who gave me a start in public access television. I began working on your show several months ago, and I can't believe that now I'm here being interviewed by you and introducing my debut of my own show.
Well, it has to do with your initiative. I mean, you are a person who is a go-to and do it right kind of a person, and you brought a great deal to the table when you came to assist me on my show. You brought internet webcasting, which I had never known anything about or how to do, and so I think that turnabout is fair play. I'm excited for you, but I'm really not sure why you decided on another talk show format. I mean, you have so many options. What made you decide on a talk show format?
Well, there's so many people here in San Diego County who are just apathetic. They feel like they don't have a voice in the community. So many people getting positive things done, and nobody knows about them. People fighting against poverty, for example, like the Trinity House, and so many members within our coalition that are doing so many great things, yet the public in general is not aware of it. So people have become apathetic. They don't get involved in the political process. They don't think they have a voice. They're dealing with things like, CNN and other news agencies that are giving them information that's not really pertinent to what everyday people are facing.
Well, I'm not so sure it's apathetic. I think it's just underinformed. And when you're not informed, how can you get excited about what's going on around you? So it's important that you're doing what you do, and you didn't just start here at Public Access. You've been going around the community videoing and reporting for a long time. You've been doing lots of different things, and a lot of people know you. So this is a good place for you to be. I'm excited about you doing giving information on human rights and the environment. But why did you choose these topics to focus on?
Well, once again, what I have been detecting is that people are apathetic. They really do feel that they have no power, and it's just a hands-off, laissez-faire kind of thing where they just back off, and they don't feel like they can make a difference. A lot of people don't vote because they feel they can't make a difference. So I tried to find some topics that people that no matter what their political affiliation might be could center around. And I figured that most people in the community could really get involved with topics surrounding the environment. We all have to live on the earth. Human rights, we all care about our families. We care about the people around us. We care about the people in our communities. And in terms of peace, certainly we see these wars that are going on here all over the world. The United States' reputation being damaged, and we have local armed forces members that are being killed on a regular basis. So I thought that these topics would be something germane to most everyone within our community.
Well, yeah, but I mean, are you going to be bringing people on the show that you think will have answers or be able to, and that everyday people will be able to relate to? Because I mean, didn't hear you say anything about the finances. I mean, the economic situation. I mean, everybody that I know anyway, has some issues with that. So are you going to be doing any of that kind of thing?
Well, of course. Well, any of these topics can be expanded. For example, human rights. A lot of people think that we're enslaved in this country with the tax system and the way that people don't have money. They can't take advantage of privileges. So if you take the topic of human rights, that can be expanded to many other different topics. However, had I chosen a much broader aspect, I think that we would come into contention with people that have different opinions about things. So I'm trying to bring people together looking at common issues. And I thought that choosing 3 very simple topics, maybe that's the wrong word, simple, but 3 broad topics where we could bring things in like poverty. We could start talking about economics. That's all part of the human rights things. Our rights are being taken away from us because we have corporate lobbyists that are paying off our politicians. So certainly the economic situation plays a part in our human rights.
So you're talking about some foundational kinds of things. But you've got a certain twist here that I find very fascinating. You're going to be bringing in celebrities to pair up with ordinary people. Talk about that.
Exactly. Well, celebrities are looking for public affairs opportunities to show the communities what their passions are. They want to show those personal sides of themselves. in addition, people pay attention when celebrities get involved. So I want to bring celebrities in to make the issues here in San Diego County international issues.
Well, what kind of celebrities? Who are you talking about?
Well, for example, I have Marcus Page who's coming. Marcus Page is a Hollywood heavyweight. He is a person who arranges a lot of the big shows that we have here in San Diego County. When you see people like the Whispers and you see the old OJs or people like that coming to San Diego, or is Marcus Page behind that?
So he's a producer.
He's a producer, and he has an entertainment company called Wild Style Entertainment, and so he's going to assist me in bringing in HBO comedian, Showtime comedians, things like that. I've done some work with him in Hollywood before, so I'm using the political connections that I've made with my newspaper, the San Diego County Times, and also the various people I've been introduced to in Hollywood, in a way to bring them into the community so that we develop synergy. So pairing them up with local activists, it gives the activists credibility. It gives them hope that they'll be able to do something. And in addition to that, it's going to better my ratings in terms of what my audience may have an interest in. So it provides synergy for everyone involved. Everybody involved becomes a winner.
Well, it also boosts the profile of San Diego, because whether we like it or not in San Diego, in the past we've been kind of seen as being out in the hinterlands, you know, way down south in San Diego. But San Diego is the last deep water port on the west coast for the United States, and there's no reason why we shouldn't, just like our skyline is changing, our profile should be changing. So you're doing something to help that. That's a great thing. I'm delighted to see. So how often is this show going to be aired?
Well, what's going to happen is we're going to have 2 shows aired every month. So we're going to alternate. So show 1 will come on maybe the first week of the month, and then show 2 will come on the second week, etc. So there'll be 2 shows coming on each month.
So you do A, B, A, B.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Well, what will make you feel as though the show is a success? I mean, how will you know? How are you going to evaluate it?
Well, what I really want to do is empower people. I want people to be able to learn about others in our community that are doing positive things. I hear all the time that people are simply unaware that organizations exist that are fighting against poverty. For example, a lot of people don't realize that San Diego is in last place as a county in the United States in terms of people getting food stamps that are qualified for them. Mm-hmm. So there are facts like that. There's widespread poverty in San Diego, wider than what I'd like to see. And again, there are many agencies that are helping combat homelessness, the Carrying Council, but yet people are simply not aware of that. The major news agencies do not cover these positive stories. You see stories about animals, you see things about bears falling out of trees, but you don't hear about the Carrying Council. You don't hear about the Trinity House. You don't hear about many of these other organizations. People are unaware of human trafficking and slave trade. So there are many very important issues that are just being swept under the carpet. I want to see everyday people start getting their own shows. I want to train them to be producers. I want to train them to become camera operators. So success, to me, will come about when I have a large number of people fielded that are running their own public access television shows and getting involved in internet television as well.
Excellent. Well, internet television is really fascinating. And I myself, low technology capabilities that I have had in the past, I'm putting that behind me, and I'm going to jump in and find out about this internet webcasting, and I'm going to become a part of it as well. And so can you. I mean, you know, it can happen for any of us, and that's because of your determination to share this. But what drives you? What pushes you? Because you're a dynamo. You're always busy.
Well, I served in the Navy for more than 20 years, almost 25 years. And I saw poverty all over the world. And I made combat cruises on 6 warships. And I was in every fleet. I lived in Europe, I lived in Asia, I lived in Central and South America. I saw the war on drugs, which is really a war on the American people. I saw how the United States projected its power overseas. But at the same time, as we're spending these billions of dollars overseas, we have people in the United States who don't have health care. We've got people in the United States, subgroups, that have birth rates and health care standards below other countries that are supposedly in the third world. So these things have to be corrected. We have the ruling class in this country who really doesn't care about people. You notice how the people in New Orleans didn't get assistance when they had the hurricane, and how long it took for our government to give the mediocre assistance they gave them. But yet we just saw these large financial corporations that were in trouble, and immediately, within hours, billions of dollars was pumped in. So the ruling class in America does not care about the people in this country, and they get away with it because we're apathetic.
Because the grassroots are not doing what the grassroots can really do.
And what they're supposed to do.
Exactly.
So I want to motivate people to start getting involved in the process, to hold our government accountable for their actions. It's our tax dollars that are being spent. It's our kids being sent overseas to die. It's our reputation that's being destroyed. It's our environment that's being destroyed. It is our surplus of funding within our budgets that has been destroyed. Our school systems are going down the drain. So we all have to get involved from the grassroots level. So I'm trying to build a grassroots communication system where I train as many producers as possible to start coming on public access, taking advantage of that. Start working on internet television. I grew up in the South, in Alabama, where in America, I couldn't sit at the counter of a restaurant. I couldn't go in the front door. I couldn't go into the waiting room of a bus terminal or a train station or the airport. I had a separate waiting room. This was in America. I went to bed listening to Molotov cocktails and machine gun fire as my neighbors were murdered by the police department and the fire department in Birmingham. So all of that drives me to make a difference. We're still fighting the battle against injustice, and we all have to become invested and involved that we're going to win this, and we are going to win. We are going to turn it around. Tyranny is not going to continue, though, to hold us all down. And I'm willing to give my life for that because I really care about the people in my community here in San Diego County. I can't stand to see people in poverty and feeling hopeless, people not having health care insurance, and immigrants being taken advantage of and being paid very low wages, and people that are being paid below a living wage here in our own community, that they can't afford to live a healthy life. We've got parents that have to work. Mother and father both have to work. So what's happening with the kids? They're going out on the street. Drugs are coming in. Our government is not even protecting our own people. How are we going to establish democracy in places like Iraq and Iran and other countries when we have people being held hostage in our own cities? So we need to build our own infrastructure. We need to build our own country. We need to make sure people are free here in this country. And poverty, not having health care, poor education system, these are all the shackles that are holding us down. And if we remain inactive and not holding our government officials accountable, then this will continue. And I just can't let that stand.
Well, I'm delighted. I'm absolutely delighted because not only do you have a standard that you believe should be held, but you're also incorporating other people and encouraging them to stand up for what they believe as well. You have created something called a coalition. Talk a little bit about that. I've had some of the people on my show talking about the environment, but where did the idea for the coalition come from, and who is involved in that?
I started a coalition back in Virginia in 1996, and it was called the Hampton Roads Coalition for Equality. I brought that concept here to San Diego County in 2000. And I began to focus on bringing small groups of people that were all working generally on the same types of issues, being peace, the environment, and human rights. And my objective has been, and still is to bring these small groups together so that we can realize our real power. So we have groups like Activist San Diego, Women's Caucus for Art, North County Coalition for Peace and Justice, A New Path, which is a Proposition 36 program that's advocating for treatment as opposed to incarceration, Drug Policy Alliance, All of Us or None, we have a lot of things that are happening within our community that are generated by the prison and military industrial complex. A lot of the things are things that people are just not aware of, such as the concrete industry. Certainly they have a motivation to see more prisons being built. So we have these archaic laws that are putting certain subgroups or certain cultures in prison more than others. African Americans make up a disproportionate number of people locked up in jail. We have people in poverty. So once again, the corporate entities have the ear of our government, simply because we're all splintered into these little groups all over the place. My objective is to bring these groups together so we have a large group, and so that people start taking their social and civil responsibilities much more seriously. It's not all the fault of the corporate entities that we're in this situation we're in. We're in the situation we're in because people do not take their civic and social responsibilities seriously. Some of that comes by being under-informed. So a part of that is we have to be involved in a public information campaign to identify the issues. So again, the concept of the coalition is to develop a coalition of coalitions, and we meet the third Sunday of every month over at the Joyce Beers Community Center in Hillcrest on Vermont Street at 6 o'clock p.m. And so there we try to have guest speakers that come in and talk about various issues and or show movies to inform the public. However, we have meetings throughout San Diego County for the entire month.
Oh, that's good. Because it's 6 o'clock on Sunday evenings, and that's when my show is aired. So you don't have to stay home to watch it. You can record it. But just be clear about the fact that you don't need to watch one or the other or do one or the other. It's available. The information that we have is available for everyone, and you can avail yourself of it. This is a fantastic beginning for you, and I'm really very happy for you. I've been delighted to see how you've brought people in and trained them, and they're thrilled to get the information, and they're dependable, and they're happy to come and do what they're doing. And this has been a great experience for all of us. So what do you think is next? You got this up and rolling. What do you think is next?
Well, right now we've got about 25 people. And the other cable providers as well. I want to continue to generate more and more access arena and the internet television arena.
This is a wide open area, isn't it, the internet television?
It's wide open. You don't have any controls by the FCC, things of that nature. So anyone can just set up their own internet television station for less than $10 a month and start broadcasting all over the world, just as we've been doing with our public access webcast. I want to really be involved in a vigorous public information campaign so that people become more aware of the issues and to provide unity. So that's the objective of the public information campaign. However, the long term or the strategic objective is to have many more people involved in the various aspects of holding our government accountable and being a voice, an effective voice and a respected voice towards that government for the positive development of our community. It seems that other countries are more civilized than we are. Britain has maybe 20 or 30 murders in 1 year. We have that many in 1 day in the United States. The proliferation of drugs in our communities is just, I hate it when I get tongue-tied on words like that, growing in our community, and we can't have that. We can't have this war on the American people. It's not a war on drugs. And so our communities are being destroyed by many different aspects. Alcohol, drugs, not getting involved, politicians ripping us off, the corporate entities ripping us off, and it's all because we just lay back and take it. Again, I'll cite the example of these insurance companies and major financial entities that were rescued by our government so quickly. And it's totaling in the trillions of dollars.
Exactly.
If we just took 1 month of what they're spending in Iraq, everybody in this country would have health care.
Well, you know, you were well trained in the Navy, and all the years that you were in the Navy, you were a navigator. You've gotten a great education. What if somebody's sitting out in the audience watching this and saying, "Yeah, but you know, you're very articulate and you have had all this experience, but I'm not like that. How can I get involved? How can I do anything? What makes you think that I can do anything?" People need to hear that. They need to know what they can do with what they have.
Well, I think that people have talents that they just don't tap into. When I was younger, I used to stutter a lot, and I figured, wow, how am I going to speak in front of people? And I remember for a long time, I hated computers. It was just like, oh my God, there's no way that I'm going to deal with these computers. I just hate that junk. And when I started applying myself, I realized that all I had to do was just that. Apply myself and get some of the paradigms out of the way. You know, the man that developed the digital watch worked at the Remington Corporation. He went to Remington and he said, "Hey, I got this watch and it's digital." And Remington said, "Nobody's going to buy a watch without hands on it." So it goes to the Timex Corporation. That's the same thing. Nobody's going to buy a watch without hands on it. Goes to the Swiss. Nobody's going to buy a watch without hands on it. But he goes to the Casio Corporation with this digital concept. They embrace it. Now Casio has the largest market share of watches in the entire world, and they make the most accurate watches. So I think that people are blinded by paradigms, unable to take in new information because they're holding on to old ideas. And those old ideas don't work anymore. So to those people, I would say, apply yourself. Look at what your talents are and apply those.
So maybe I don't have a college education, a big-time university education, but I can get to a community college. And maybe I can go through that catalog and check out, say, well, I don't have a whole lot of money because, you know, money's tight, but I might be able to check out a class that's given free in my community and apply myself to one of the gifts that I have.
Sure, of course. Look at what your passion is. What are your interests? I was a 17-year-old running a navigation division, taking a ship from San Diego all the way over to Guam in the Philippines. And I didn't even know what a navigator was before I went into the Navy. So as a 17-year-old, I was able to apply myself and to excel. And I did, as I said, more than 20 years as a navigator. And that's a field in which you can't make a mistake. Once you make a mistake as a navigator and run a ship aground or something of that nature, you're finished.
Yeah,
it's over.
That's over.
So I think we're capable of great things. And there's another thing called false intentions. People tend to have false intentions. In other words, when I got ready for this show today, I didn't think to myself, well, I'm going to be the best dressed person. Well, I'm not going to make a mistake. Or I'm not going to stutter. No, what I said was, I'm going to try to put across a clear message, a clear, positive message, and that's what my objective is. Not these other things, not how nice I look, not if I get there on time. Those are the false intentions. So people get caught up into false intentions, and they forget what the real objective is.
Well, the real objective for many of us, most of us, is that we be able to live well, live in peace, and be kind to one another, compassionate to one another. But there's a whole lot of things that come at us in this world that can bring us away from that focus. So I like what you're talking about. You're talking about staying focused on the things that are important and becoming involved. You know, this is not a new concept. It's happened before. It happened before the 60s, but it certainly happened in the 60s. And we're still living out some of that hoped-for dream, and it still is yet to be completed. And there's people out there today that can help with completing that, I'm hearing you say.
Well, one of the things I saw was that drugs came into the scene, and that really sort of put people down in terms of their motivation to make change. But look around us right here. We have people of all races, all genders, ages, right here working as a crew on this show. So this is certainly indicative of what we can do if we put our differences aside and look at what we have in common. and start really being concerned about one another and caring for one another. That's what it's all about. We have to put all those things aside: religion, race, gender, all the things that economic differences that tend to separate us, and find the commonalities. And that's why I chose those three things, because I wanted to keep it as simple as possible, so that we could get a toehold, a foothold on trying to build a coalition the old-fashioned way, but using new fashion technologies and methods.
Well, you certainly seem to be the person to do that. You have the personality, you have the drive, and you certainly have the ability to stay focused and to teach other people how to do the same. Thank you so much for having me on your show for the very first show, and I'm delighted that you've taken hold in the public access arena and that you're going to be doing this and including other people.
Well, it's wonderful, and it's certainly a pleasure and an honor to have you on my show. That's what really makes it a great thing, to have you sit here and to be on the show, and it's a great honor. So thank you so much for the interview.
My pleasure, without a doubt. Many blessings to you.
Thank you.